Good morning. Welcome back to my garden. It's a beautiful morning and I'm excited to be able to get out and get some planting done today. I wasn't planning on it. Two of my boys and I are going to go out to IKEA in a little bit, and then I was getting all ready and stuff and I realized my son is still sleeping and I have a few hours yet, and that's plenty of time to get out and get some things done. It's nice and cool out. We actually had some rain last night. We had a bit of a storm come through, a thunderstorm, and honestly it was pretty scary. We in this area of Oregon back in 2020, September of 2020, had some really intense wildfires in our area, and we were evacuated for 12 days, and the fires were really close. They ended up being some of the worst wildfire that we've had in Oregon history, and it just gives me chills thinking about it. It was right at our back door. So that was started during a storm similar to what we had last night. It was very windy. It has been very dry. We haven't had any rain, registered rain, since, I don't know, before June. So it's quite dry, and with as many trees as we have around here, and the lightning and all of the combination, we were in a high weather watch for fires last night. So we woke up at about 1:30 and it was so windy. Our fans were blowing out of our windows. The lightning was insane. The house was shaking with thunder. We had to bring all the dogs in because they were just absolutely freaking out. Long story short, it was a long night, but once the thunder and lightning stopped, it started raining, and I just wanted to cry. I was so excited. I was so thankful. The weather still doesn't even show that we had any registered or, measurable rain, but I can feel it out here in the air, and my gardens can feel it. They're washed off, which is great because it's been pretty dry, like I said, and dusty. With our gravel driveway, it gets pretty dusty. So it's a beautiful morning to be outside and to be enjoying this cool down that we're having. It's only supposed to be low 80s, and then for the rest, like the 10 days, supposed to be in the 70s. So it's glorious. It's perfect for planting. So I really wanted to get the 3 butterfly bush in the ground that I purchased this last week with my mom and my son when we went out to several different garden centers. And so I wanted to get those in the ground, and I don't know that I'll have time to do anything else, but we will at least do that. Here are the 3 that I got. I have 2 Miss Violet, this one, and then this one, Miss Ruby. So this one I'm gonna put into the backyard garden, and the 2 Miss Violets are going to go into one of my front no-dig beds, and they were the ones that I talked about in that shopping trip video of the 2 spots that I was looking for filling with something such as this. And yeah, so I think I'm gonna just groom them up a little bit, water them. So I'm just gonna probably water them in too really well so that the root balls are nice and saturated before I plant them. And yeah, just go ahead and get started. Really necessary to prune the butterfly bush's spent blooms, but I like to just because it obviously makes it look better, but also I think it mostly just makes it look better. These are sterile varieties, so they're not wasting energy really trying to push seed or anything like that. Here in Oregon, the regular or the original butterfly bush plants are considered invasive species, so they can't even sell them here anymore. It's kind of interesting. There's a couple spots, maybe 3 at the most, spots that I've seen like along highways where there's a lot of the large original type of butterfly bushes blooming or growing. But I don't really see them all over the place anyway. I don't see them all over the place as if they're really a problem, but obviously they are, because they can't sell them anymore. So anyway, I like to just clean up my butterfly bushes by pruning off the spent buds, and you can see easily where you should cut them back, and then you can see where from that spot new growth is coming on and where the new buds will emerge. So you can see on this one here, there's the stem coming this way, the stem going that way. This one here, it has 2 spent flowers coming up, so you just take your snips and go right there, take that out, and then you can see right here, that's going to be a new flower, and that's going to be a new flower. Although, I mean, I guess it's a zillion little flowers, really. But anyway, it helps it to look a lot neater. Here's another good example of it right here. Here's the main, the stem that comes up, the spent flower, and then off to the 2 sides, there's ones that haven't bloomed yet, and just snip it right there. Easy peasy. And it looks a lot nicer, I think. First spot that I'm going to be planting is right here where this lemony lace elderberry is. Poor thing just absolutely scorched in our heat wave that we just had. I shouldn't even call it a heat wave, because compared to what's going on with a lot of other parts of the country, it's not comparable. But for us, the heat came on pretty quickly and got up pretty high to the low hundreds, and it took its toll. So this guy, I don't think, likes to be in full sun. You can see this damage on these leaves. So I'm going to dig it out and probably just plop it right into that pot and baby it for a bit, put it into some shade, maybe prune it back, give it some love, see if I can revive it, at least give it a break, because all this new growth up here is really pretty. So, it's definitely not harmed forever. It'll rebound. But anyway, I think that this Miss Violet butterfly bush will like this spot a lot more. And it is kind of repetitious of the color that's right here on the ground, but that is an annual, so it won't be there. It won't be there forever. So it's surrounded by this barberry, a little small, I think it's probably the Lo and Behold microchip pink buddleia, and then another butterfly bush, this sad lavender that I transplanted earlier in the spring. That'll probably come out because it's not too happy there. So anyway, I'm gonna just dig a hole and, well, first dig this guy out and plop this guy in. can see there that this is the hog fuel. It's basically just really thickly shredded up tree material, I guess, mostly bark, but also the innards of the plant or of the tree also. So I'm going to move this just out to the path out there. That should go pretty quick, and then this one can get in the ground.
See this right here?
Mm-hmm.
This is an edible plant, and it's like roots or whatever they are, are edible.
What does it smell like?
And it smells.
No, the root.
Oh, it's edible.
Does it smell like carrot?
This right here.
That's a big one.
Yeah, look down. Look down here. Look at that. Look at that. Look
Okay,
at that down there.
let's see.
Let me see. Just pull as much as you can. You see that right there? That's really big. No, at the very bottom.
I'm trying, but you're in the way. I mean, you're at the bottom. Ready?
Oh!
Smell
That's
it.
the whole thing.
Smell it.
Smells like carrots.
I did that because this area of the garden is at the lowest point. Actually, yeah, it's at the lowest point of our entire yard and the entire this garden space too, but even the entire yard. Behind me you can see it goes back up to what used to be a railroad. Actually, we call it the railroad grade. So this area has the potential to stay pretty wet, and buddleia don't like to have wet feet. So I planted it up a little bit higher, and I'm going to top dress around it with some of my soil bed conditioner that I've been using as mulch on all of my beds. It's basically it's an amendment that you can put into clay soil if you want. You can use it as a top dressing. You can actually use it as potting soil, raised bed soil, whatever you want. It's just kind of a composted material, wood chips, you know, just a number of different things. Anyways, I'm going to top dress this area with that, so that will reach up to the top of the root ball, but it won't be heavy soil around the root ball. So that will help with drainage, so that the bulk of the buddleia's roots aren't just sitting in the wet soil. is the opening to this bed, and it just curves around that way, and then around and out over here where that flat rock is, instead of having an opening right here. You can see it just curves on around this way. All right. Grow big, little Buddleia. Fill in your spot. Before we move on, I wanted to show you what this Tough Stuff hydrangea has done. So you can see obviously the top got kind of nailed from the heat, but look at all this new growth that it's putting on. This is a variety that does bloom on old wood and new wood. So this is its first year being in the ground. I just planted it. It wasn't rooted in or established when our hot weather hit. So I don't know how much time it needs to, you know, to rebloom on that new growth, but this one over here is doing the same. It has all the new growth on the bottom. It just goes to show what a tough plant, appropriately named Tough Stuff, what a tough plant this little hydrangea from Proven Winners is. All right, I'm gonna clean up this stuff and then we're gonna head back into the backyard with the Miss Ruby and get that one planted. I think this is where the Miss Ruby's gonna go. Pulled out some foxglove there. So I know that I do like this color in this spot because it's really similar to the color of the foxglove. I'm hoping it doesn't clash with the echinacea that's right here. I think it'll be fine. But this is a viburnum standard, and everything else around here, even that little lilac back there, that should stay pretty small. This Miss Ruby, I believe, is a 5-foot range, but only like 3 feet wide. It's kind of has a narrower habit. So I think that this will be a good spot. There is some penstemon also planted in behind it, but those can just kind of grow up next to it and they don't get too bulky for me at all. So I think that's a good spot for her, and I can see it out of our living room window, so that'll be a sweet view to see that blooming right there this time of the year when there's not a whole lot else blooming right next to it. So you may have noticed that I planted those in kind of a different way. Not only did I plant them high, but I also put the pot into the hole that I dug, filled it with the soil, scooped the soil out around the pot, packed it in. I like to do that with plants that are either splaying, like a ground cover, or, you know, something like that, but also plants that have kind of tender branches. That's one of the only things with Buddleia for me, is that the old branches, so the harder wood, you know, not the new growth, but the older stems are kind of brittle, so they can unfortunately break fairly easily. And so anyway, sometimes I like to do that, especially if I'm planting in an area that's really full of other plants. It makes it easier just to deal with the pot, the, you know, low down pot. I can pack it in, I can water it in, make sure it's nice and compact. The soil is, you know, nice and compact around the pot. And then after I water it, that soil's not really going anywhere. So I can just kind of jiggle the pot and pull it out and slide the plant right in. So that can be, I mean, unless you really have to rough up the roots, and so then you don't end up with a nice, you know, nicely shaped root ball that slid right out of the pot. This is an easy peasy way to plant in a plant and not have the actual plant kind of get in the way of the planting, if that makes sense. There she is, Miss Ruby has found her place. I'm excited to see her grow up here. Kind of hard to tell because of the lighting right here, but I think she fits in nicely. Over here you also saw me plant in this little itty bitty start. Well, not even a start, it's actually just a broken piece off of that sedum back there. This is the area, that path that the dogs take, running up through here. So that purple one back there was broken, and so I just dug a hole with a hammer and a weeding tool to put that little guy in there, and just kind of protected it with that cloche, I guess what those are called, maybe a little bird cage support. And I do that really often. A lot of my sedum has been started in that way. So you don't even really have to water it. It just hardens off on the bottom and then starts to put out new roots, and it should be good to go. So anyway, I'm glad that we got those 3 butterfly bush planted in, and they can start to root in and grow and enjoy this nice cool weather, so that they're not stressed. And I already see bees on the Miss Ruby that we just planted. So anyway, I'm excited to have those ones in the garden, and thank you for hanging out with me while I did all this planting today. I hope it was helpful. I hope that if you don't have any butterfly bush in your garden, you'll head to your garden center to see if you can find some, because there's so many different varieties, so many different sizes, big ones, little ones. They just kind of can fit in wherever you might have space. So they're a super easy plant to have and to grow, and just pretty indispensable in my garden. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.